that life, albeit billions of years old, once existed on the red planet. The declaration, which is yet to be embraced by the scientific community at large, created headlines around the world, and more or less ensured that NASA would have no difficulty in raising the necessary funds to embark on an ambitious, unmanned series of mission probes to Mars in the future. 3 months later, on the 1st of December 1996, Space Shuttle astronauts on board STS-80 filmed something remarkable. Scores of anomalous objects could be seen skirting Earth's upper atmosphere below, but then, from beneath a high bank of cloud, emerged a large sphere, almost plasma-like in appearance. And as the sequence rolls, note how the camera on board the Space Shuttle zooms in on a cluster of anomalous objects which appear to congregate on the Earth's horizon. Interestingly, during that same mission, astronauts would point their cameras towards Brazil, more specifically Sao Paulo. Were they expecting something? Whatever suddenly streaked into view would appear to suggest they were. But what was it? A short time would pass before anomalous activity was filmed again, only this time in close proximity to the Mir space station. The STS-84 docking and undocking mission with Mir provided breathtaking images. It also provided further puzzles. Thanks to an amateur astronomer known as Willie, some of the footage transmitted by STS-84 was disseminated around the world. Hardly surprising, since it contained several remarkable scenes. Determining which one has most appeal, or greater mystery, is debatable. But why does this particular sphere suddenly come to a direct stop, hover momentarily, then move up and behind the Mir space station to emerge on the other side? And was this appearance of dozens of anomalous objects caused by the flushing of a toilet on board the Space Shuttle, or something else? Assuming then that this is mere space debris, would it not be considered dangerous to those on board both the Space Shuttle and Mir space station? To answer that question would require detailed analysis of pristine STS-84 footage, but NASA refuses to release any of it, and the question is surely, why? Signals from space can and do take on many forms, and while some dishes scattered around the world listen for faint traces of extraterrestrial intelligence from afar, others are designed to receive signals transmitted from much closer to home. During the 1990s, millions of miniature-sized dishes sprang up across Britain as satellite technology came of age. Both here and in countries abroad, many individuals chose to erect more powerful dishes to locate and access a wide variety of transmissions being back to Earth from scores of overhead satellites. In theory, the more powerful the receiver, the more choice it would offer. And, as we've already seen, some of those individuals chose to utilize their satellite dishes to monitor and record transmissions beamed down to Earth from the Space Shuttle. But what if one of those individuals had the means to utilize an even greater array of satellite receiving dishes, to record and subsequently log every second of NASA transmissions, from not one solitary Space Shuttle mission, but from several, covering a period of almost 5 years? What then? That incredible scenario first came to light late one evening in the summer of 1999, when Graham Birdsall, editor of UFO magazine in Britain, took a call on his mobile phone. The caller was Martin Stubbs, a cable TV station manager from Vancouver in Canada. For the next 45 minutes, Graham listened intently as Martin proceeded to recount an extraordinary story in which he claimed to have accessed NASA's downlink transmissions originating from numerous Space Shuttle missions that stretched back over a period of several years. And, amidst all of this carefully logged footage that amounted to over 2,500 hours, Martin further claimed to have stumbled across something equally extraordinary, palpable evidence for the reality of not one, but 2 extraterrestrial life forms. In order to fully verify these and other equally amazing claims, Russell Callahan was dispatched to Vancouver last August to meet up with Martin in person. Joining him would be Brian Borshoff, project director of the Phenomena exhibition, who flew in especially from Australia. After spending an entire week in the company of Martin, engaged in, for the most part, viewing countless hours of NASA footage, the staggering implications of what he'd uncovered soon became apparent. For although Martin had come across countless further examples of mysterious sphere-like activity, his trained eye as an experienced TV editor had picked out something else, something that he would find compelling, something that others would later find amazing. At the conclusion of their visit to Vancouver, a tri-party agreement was reached, one that would ensure worldwide public disclosure through methods and means that would soon become apparent in the weeks and months to follow. But why, on the strength of one phone call, did Russell Callahan and Brian Borshoff travel thousands of miles to touch base with Martin Stubbs in the first place? Call it intuition, call it good luck, call it what you will, but on hearing Martin relate his extraordinary story, he sent out a signal far more powerful than that generated by any satellite. And what better means to demonstrate the point than by having Martin recount that story in his own words?
Hi, I'm Martin Stubbs, and I'm a resident of Bowen Island, Canada. Bowen Island is a small island of about 3,000 people just off the coast of British Columbia. The city we directly commute to on a little ferry, 20-minute ride, is the great city of Vancouver. And it's here that I was able to discover, through NASA's own video downlinked from the shuttle, two types of phenomena that, from my estimation, should not be there. The first phenomena is a spherical phenomena. It's the best I can do in terms of explaining it. And the second phenomena is a phenomena that is virtually invisible to the human eye, but when filmed eyes of it.
And if further proof were ever needed that the Russian Space Agency meant what it said, then this sequence, captured by Russian state television from within mere mission control, can only be described as proof positive. Note how the camera pans around the control room before settling on the main viewing screen. Was the subject of their attention these anomalous objects, seen in close proximity to the Mir space station? Intriguingly, here's the exact same sequence, only this time recorded by Martin Stubbs from NASA's downlink. Compare the two. These objects are patently of interest to those watching in Russia, so might the same be true of their counterparts at NASA?
Columbia, Houston, we're looking at our payload bay camera, and it looks like a lot of moonlight glinting off the ocean, a whole sparkling bed of diamonds out there. Is that a real picture, or are we just getting some video fuzz? That's some of the ice crystals that we were dumping out earlier, and yeah, it's a beautiful picture. That's a great combination of the moonlight and the ice and the clouds.
Yeah, it's a combination of moonlight making those ice crystals sparkle, and maybe as well as some of the sun starting to come up on the horizon.
Well, thanks for the picture.
The Mir space station is now visible on the far left-hand side of the screen, about an inch from the bottom of this particular picture. And there were also a number of shooting stars in that view. The camera has now moved to a point Okay, the Mir space station is the small flashing light in the center, about an inch from the left-hand side of the screen. It's slowly... It is slowly moving closer to the left-hand side and is it has a very light flashing to it.
We think in the middle of the screen, way to the left-hand side. You got an articulation mark when you look out there. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Never mind. Are we missing something? I don't see anything. Yeah, we think the camera filter came off, Mark. It's about your 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock going away. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay. Discovery, we're sending you an orbiter state vector. we see the satellite now, it's like a bright spot at the end of the tether, and on the other end, the low end, there's also a relatively bright spot, which is maybe an accumulation of the tether. And we are downlinking camera Delta now.
Okay, we copied and understand as you're viewing it on the monitor, the satellite is at the top of the tether.
That's correct.
Columbia.
Camera Bravo. We had the camera Bravo constantly on the tether. Unfortunately, we don't see the tip of the boom, but in a few seconds you'll see the tether break. And this one, of course, was not attended. It just recorded. It could not be bumped either, so it will record steadily the whole break and coil back to the tether.
Copy, Claude.
We go.
Again, this is a view of the satellite.
Well, if it had to break, it did it in the right place.
So, the left-hand corner there, straight as an arrow. So it seems from here.
Yes, sir, we have it. Great picture.
It came and went pretty quick, but that was about as much as we have of it.
Columbia and the satellite now 77 nautical miles apart. Again, that call reporting that the crew can see the tether and see the satellite. It's beautiful. This view showing the satellite. Again, just moving into sunrise. 81 nautical miles now from Columbia.
You guys getting the image?
Franklin, we see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the foreground. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and it's illuminated by the sun at such low angles. So there's a lot of stray light, and it's getting washed out quickly, but Claude is trying to do a quick, good job here adjusting the cameras.
Copy that.
Again, that description by the crew, this is the tether in the satellite with approximately 12 miles of tether still attached to it. Columbia and the satellite now just passing over the west coast of northern Africa. The two spacecraft now 90 nautical miles apart. Controllers for the satellite did have communications with it during the close pass between Columbia and the satellite.
Columbia, Houston, that's a much better view, a lot more contrast visible. And how wide does that tether appear to be? It seems to resemble a much wider strand than we'd expect. Can you describe which way the satellite is visible on that strand?
Satellite now 100 nautical miles.
Charlie, completely unzoomed, and you see the full extent of the tether. I tried to adjust the focus, but I can't get better than that.
Okay, Claude. Thank you.
I'm going to zoom in now.
It should mirror exactly what she's doing on the inside.
Okay. Right now, the handle is installed with the tab in the unlocked position. I'm going to rotate the tab to the locked position now if you're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, we are fully seated in the locked position.
Okay, Tammy, we didn't see any motion on the outside. If you would, go ahead and move it back to the unlocked.
Okay, I'm pulling back to the unlocked, and again, it's only going about 3/4 of the way, will not lie flat, and will not seat, as I mentioned earlier.
And Tammy, if you could, simultaneous with trying to put it in the unlocked position, if you would move the handle a little bit back and forth.
Do that. Okay, that should work now, Bill.
Okay, and we can see the handle moving on the outside.
Okay, and but any indication that the lock is being actuated?
No, we can't see any indication of that, and it just may be a bad angle and too dark.
Amidst the 2,500 hours of NASA footage recorded by Martin Stubbs, we have seen countless examples of the spheres, the first space phenomenon. But until now, few have ever come across, least of all seen described, what has been labelled the second space phenomenon. Those that have been left speechless, including eminent scientists, astrophysicists and, as we have learned, highly placed figures within the Canadian Space Agency. Someone who was prepared to comment publicly after being shown less than 5 minutes of the footage was Guido Negro, director of the SETI radio telescope at Golden Grave Observatory in Western Australia. What, we asked, did he make of it all?
Well, I was very well impressed, and not only myself, also other people that were looking at. And because this time we are not talking about footage taken off from some home movie camera, but someone that actually was flying a space shuttle, so automatically that gave us the fact that the picture must have been real, genuine. Well, I was very well impressed. And maybe this will prove that there is something else that we are not aware of, at least officially. That if the footage that we saw came to be true and really are showing an alien spacecraft or something like that, I say that if there is a cover-up, the people who are doing this cover-up are an enemy of entire Earth race, because we are not children and we must know we must know the truth. It doesn't matter if there are people that are they don't know how to handle the truth. Well, the majority of us will, and if there is a cover-up, I think it's time that the cover-up goes.
Guido could have easily dismissed this sampling as ice crystals at best, or errant nonsense at worst. The fact that he chose to do neither is symbolic perhaps of the potential importance both he and a great many others attach to the footage. The onus surely now rests with people like Guido and others elsewhere in the scientific community to determine whether or not the second space phenomena is a genuine phenomenon. And were that proven to be the case, two burning questions would need to be addressed. Is it extraterrestrial? And is it intelligent? If the answer to either is deemed yes, we could have arrived at an historic moment. For Martin Stubbs, it would be the vindication of what he and millions like him have always maintained, that we are not alone in the universe. His, after all, was a chance discovery, a fleeting glimpse of something that sped across his television monitor that most would fail to notice. He focused on that. He looked for more of the same, under different conditions, and found them in abundance. But found what exactly? Some of the greatest scientific discoveries known to man have often been born from chance events. But is it remotely conceivable that one of the greatest discoveries of all time could have been similarly unearthed by a humble cable TV manager operating out of a small community station in Vancouver? History will surely go on to determine the truth, provided, that is, others within the scientific community are equally prepared to explore the limitless possibilities now before them. But who among them will be courageous enough, ambitious enough, to step forward and examine this evidence? There will be many who will choose to ignore it, blinded by self-imposed scientific dogma and bland indifference towards all who champion the extraterrestrial hypotheses. But those that do express an interest may well find themselves embarking upon one of the greatest scientific treks of all time.
I can't explain it because I don't really think that's my job right now. I'm merely a person who's gathering grains of salt together and putting them in front of you. It's as if you have a carpet and you have a handful of salt and you throw the salt on the carpet, you look and you don't think there's any salt there. But when you gather it up, put it back in your hand, you have something.